You have just entered podcast 116. Do you focus on your weaknesses or your strengths? Let's find out together.
This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome, everyone. I hope you're having a great day. You are really going to enjoy today's podcast content. I'm confident of that because it's so positive. It's such a positive message. You're going to love the content today. Stay with us. We'll give you a surefire way where you can leverage your strengths and focus on those positive things about you and about me instead of dwelling on negativity, and go so much farther and faster and do better that way than with any other approach to this topic. So a quick note before we begin, something I'm really excited about right now is progress, the training that we get to go do. My kids are going to a Rapport Leadership International Leadership Training on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'm very excited about that. They're absolutely going to love that. Sometimes I hear my kids say things like, oh, I can't do it, or they made me, or this or that. And I'm like, whoa, you're about to get a lesson on this this weekend, because you are going to go out of victim mode and into victor and conquer mode once you go through this training that brings you out of your comfort zone. Also, I was talking to a good friend of mine the other day. He's in a funk right now and having a really hard time staying motivated and getting out of the crazy 8 cycle. And I said, man, you really need to go do a Tony Robbins training, Unleash the Power Within, or one of his Date with Destiny trainings. And I just really love and appreciate and thank God for the fact that we have trainings like this right now to boost us up. Like, what did people do 100 years ago or 150 years ago when they were down? When they didn't have the same medications, didn't have the same health, didn't have the same knowledge, didn't have internet access, didn't have like telemedicine, didn't have events like this. You know, what did people do back in the day other than suffer? I am so thankful and grateful to be alive today where we have all of these resources, these wonderful resources. So those are some of the things that I'm excited about: progress, training, being able to move forward. So I want to thank some of our fans. I wonder sometimes if this little topic in my outline would ever get old, but every day I have something to really be thankful about for the people that are listening and sharing and consuming this content. I want to thank everyone who's using this podcast to get better. I've gotten, and I actually forgot about sharing this the other day because it wasn't like a direct share or feedback or something like that, but there have been many emails that I've received from owners of companies and vice presidents and other high-powered executives where they're using the podcast to go create outlines to go do really, really cool things in their companies. In fact, one owner of a business sent me back a complete outline of all of the podcasts that I had done for one of their trainings that they're going to do. And I just think that's fantastic. That means we're making an impact, all of us, every one of us, people in the industry that are sharing, the books that have been written, the people that share with me, all of us are making a difference and helping each other to live more remarkable lives and to run businesses where we care for people. So I think that's fantastic. In fact, I know that's fantastic. So got some good feedback today. Let me read it to you. Your responses to my questions in podcast 108, 109, and 110 were great, and we are in alignment. I am very appreciative of your time and commitment to improving our industry. You are making a difference. And I got 2 exclamation points there. I'm very excited to continue to grow our organization and build remarkable teams. So, man, that's payday right there. I heard somebody say that one time. When I baptized my son, and he was our first kid to get baptized, I had somebody tell me that's a payday right there. All of the, messy diapers and disciplining and hard moments and being in Walmart where there's an accident and all these things that you deal with kids, it all comes down to payday, and that payday is when you're able to make progress. And I think, man, and I'm not whining, and I don't want people to feel sorry for me. That's not what I'm saying, but being a podcast host is very, very lonely, meaning, unless you're doing live streams, which I'll do one day, and unless you're doing an interview, you're sitting in a recording booth all by yourself in front of all this fancy equipment, imagining the wonderful people on the other end of the microphone that you're talking to, and it gets lonely. And so after 115 podcasts, most of them not talking to other people, it's like, and Am I making a difference? You know, I mean, is this helping anyone, or am I wasting my time? And so the comment, I'm very excited to continue to grow our organization and build remarkable teams. And the fact that he said you are making a difference, man, that's a payday right there, because it shows that efforts are not wasted, that we are headed in a good direction, and that people are consuming this content and giving us feedback. So I absolutely love it, because at the end of the day, well, let me tell you this. I once heard a lady at church give a talk, and her opening statement was, if you don't know that all of this is about people, then you don't get it. And that's always stuck with me. It's not about money. It's not about time. It's not about fame. It's not about popularity. It's about people. And so those are some payday moments. And I want to thank everybody who shares this podcast, who sends it out, who recommends it, who listens to it, who outlines, who implements. We are making a difference for people, and that's all that matters. So here's also a quick challenge. And I'd like to simplify this. There are some people out there that do so many things and sell so many things and talk about so many things and can advise on so many things. And I'm not saying I'm an expert. Most of my expertise is in construction management, team organization, and especially in field operations, right? I flex back and forth between field and office, but most of my experience is with that, and with lean, and with scheduling, and with survey, and with integration, and with these things, right? And with BIM. So I don't know everything, nobody does, but I don't even know close to what some of my industry contemporaries know about construction. But I do tend to cover a lot of topics, and so what can happen is you have this fatigue, this buyer's fatigue, or this listener's fatigue, or whatever, where it's like, okay, well, there was 1,000 different things that I need to look at right now. So you get tired and you don't do one thing. And here's the challenge. Figure out what your next challenge is to make more money, reach your goals, improve your business, take care of your people, whatever. And let's focus on that one thing, and let me help you. Whether you use us for consulting or coaching or implementing an effort or training on a specific topic, let's go pick the next thing that you need leverage against to go take your business to the next level. And let's go figure that out together and make progress. And then the next thing will be easier, and the next thing, and the next thing. We can focus on one thing that you need to go do to be more remarkable and live a more remarkable life. We don't have to worry about the 1,000 different things. What is your next thing? So here's a challenge. For your company to take care of their people, to reach their goals, to take care of customers, to make more money, to expand, and to take its or your next step, what is the one thing, and what are we going to do about it? Let's work on that together. So let's give a little bit of conflict here and get right into the podcast. We dwell too much on our weaknesses, and we do not leverage our strengths well enough. So let me tell you a story. And this might sound a little bit narcissistic. I don't mean it to, but I'm telling you stories from my life. Actually, I got feedback from somebody the other day saying, don't apologize for these things. So, hey, I'm not going to apologize. Let me tell you a story. So I read the book StrengthsFinder, and it was StrengthsFinder 2.0. And I took the StrengthsFinder 2.0 assessment, and I got back my 5 signature themes. I took this when I was working at DPR, and it was fantastic. And the summary of the book, the focus of the book, is that we need to focus more on our strengths and really maximize those and make those become exponential in our lives, and neutralize our weaknesses, but don't focus on them. And so there are 34 different themes that were measured in this assessment, and they gave me my top 5. Number 1 for me was context. Faced with new people and new situations, it will take you, meaning me, a little time to orient yourself, but you must give yourself this time. You look back because that's where all the answers lie. You look back to understand the present. Everything to you has to be put into context. The second one for me was connectedness. If we are all part of a larger picture, then we must not harm others, because we will be harming ourselves. We must not exploit, because we will be exploiting ourselves. Your awareness of these responsibilities creates your value system. You are considerate, caring, and accepting. So number 3 for me was learner. You love to learn. The subject matter that interests you most will be determined by your other themes and experiences, but whatever the subject, you will always be drawn to the process of learning. Number 4 for me was communication. You like to explain, to describe, to host, to speak in public, holy cow, and to write. This is your communication theme at work. Ideas are a dry beginning. Events are static. You feel a need to bring them to life, to energize them, to make them exciting and vivid, which is proven by the boot camps where we get down and it's like a full event. Positivity. You are generous with praise, quick to smile, and always on the lookout for the positive in the situation. Now, in reading those 5 things, I bet you can now understand a little bit better why I do some of the things that I do. Everything for me is put into context. That's why I like stories. Connectedness. I really, really believe that we need to take care of our workers. I feel like, and I know that whatever we send out to other people will come back into our own lives. I love to learn. I love to communicate. And I'll read this again. You like to explain, describe, host, speak, and write. And then positivity. So I think anybody, I'm not even going to ask. I know for a fact that sounds like me. But here's the key, and here's why I'm telling you this story. I didn't know that until I actually read it on the profile. And so since that time, for about 5 years now, I've been focusing on those strengths, which then led to better behavior, which then led to me creating a YouTube channel, which then led to me experimenting with lean and sharing, which then led to me speaking at LCI, which then led to me consulting, which then led to me doing this podcast, which then everything that I learned in that assessment has been a focus of mine for the last 5 years and has brought me the success that I have now. And not just the success, but the focus. So how impactful would it be if we all knew our strengths? And I really, really do believe in that. And so that's my story and everything that I've done, starting a business, consulting, doing boot camp trainings, starting a podcast, writing books, all of these things came about because I became aware of exactly who I was and what my strengths were and focusing there instead of focusing just on my weaknesses, which unless you're talking about neutralizing them, focusing on them or dwelling on them is a waste of time. So let me talk to you about a hedgehog concept. The hedgehog concept comes from one of Jim Collins' books, Good to Great, and he talks about how the fox, this very clever animal, will try 100 different ways to kill and eat the hedgehog. But they most of the time fail. But the hedgehog does one thing every time. It curls up into a ball and pokes its little pokey things out at the fox and protects himself and doesn't get eaten. That's the one thing. And he does it over and over and over and over. And so what I would ask you PMs and supers out there, anybody in construction, anybody with families, anybody doing anything, what is your hedgehog concept? What is the thing that you do well and you can do over and over and over and over? What is the thing that is a strategic advantage for you? And Jim Collins talks about this for companies, right? Companies need to find their red zone of what they're good at, what they can get paid for, and what they enjoy. But are we doing that on a project level, on a personal level, on a family level as well? Are we doing what we're good at on the project site, what we can get best paid for, or meaning what's our best return on investment and what we enjoy doing? Or are we stuck in random and structured positions that don't leverage our strengths and it's a nightmare for us? So what I would recommend is that we've already talked about getting the right people on the bus, the wrong people off, and getting people in the right seats. But this is how you do it. By finding out what their strengths are, you can use the StrengthsFinder test, or you can use the 6 types of working genius from the table group with Patrick Lencioni. This is a new thing that came out, and it's absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait. I couldn't wait. I am excited to share it with you. So let me go over mine really quickly, and let me tell you why it's so important to me and why I think each of you is going to want to go onto the table group website and take this assessment, and why it will help your teams. So first of all, if you go onto the table group website, you can find this, and it's called the 6 types of working genius. And it says, discover the gifts you bring to work. Now, when you think about the 6 types, and there's the genius of wonder, of invention, of discernment, of galvanizing, of enablement, and of tenacity. And I'm not going to redo Pat Lencioni's podcast. He has some fantastic podcasts that you can download from any of the podcast sites and from the table group website. But the bottom line is that typically there are 2 of these 6 that are our working genius, 2 that is a working competency, and 2 that is a frustration, meaning it's a nightmare for us. We don't like doing it. So mine are, and this is exactly what it says, your likely areas of working genius are galvanizing and discernment. You are good at and enjoy rallying people and inspiring them to take action around a project, task, or idea. And you are good at and enjoy using your intuition and instincts to evaluate and assess ideas or plans. Now, my competencies are, you are capable of and don't mind creating original and novel ideas and solutions, You are capable of and don't mind pondering the possibility of greater potential and opportunity in a given situation. So invention and wonder are my competencies. But these are the things I don't like. Your likely areas of working frustration are enablement and tenacity. So you aren't naturally gifted at and or derive energy from and derive joy from providing others with encouragement and assistance for their projects and ideas. And that's true. I really like to provide environments and training and have them make their own progress. And so I justify that, but it's really just not a strength of mine. My strength is in disrupting and bringing out the best in others, not in the supporting side. The other one is you aren't naturally gifted at and or derive energy and joy from pushing projects and tasks through to completion to ensure that the desired results are achieved. And I think that's fantastic. In fact, when I was a field engineer one time, I got a performance review from the project manager that said, Jason, it's the last 5% for you. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you are great at the 95%. You're best in class, but that last 5%, you need to watch it. And that was really insightful because in my career, I've always been dispatched as a career field engineer and superintendent to the next project before it finished. I've only ever had, and don't tell anybody because they'll start to think less of me, but I've only ever had to finish one project on my own. Now, have I consulted? Have I finished projects with others? Have I been there through the process? Absolutely. But myself as a superintendent, I've only ever had in the many projects had to finish one. And that's because people naturally knew where my genius was, beginning, starting, galvanizing, getting people together and building teams. So in that performance review many years ago, when he was talking to me about my 5% and I didn't understand him and I thought he was just criticizing me, how much better would it have been if I would have known it was a working frustration? I can neutralize it and then focus on my strengths and be put in a situation where I can be used the best according to my working genius. Now, why is this important? Why am I taking your time to explain this? Here is why. On a project site, if you're the PM or the super, you're the director or the executive or whatever, and you're trying to build that team, you're building that team, then you can go through all these steps. You can go through team development. You can make sure that you have a big, hairy, audacious goal. You can make sure you have a great leader. You can make sure you're building trust. You can do all of these things. But if you end up in a spot where people aren't doing what they're meant for, they're not in their working genius, they're not using their strengths, they can still be miserable. So if you're ever going to implement any of these team balance systems and you're like, well, it's not working for that guy or gal. Well, it's probably because we're not using their working genius. And so we have to find people's hedgehog concept. We have to find out what they're good at, what they will do to get the biggest return on their investment and what they enjoy, and get them that seat on the bus and get them to working at 100% capacity. I really love this because it focuses on the advantages, the strengths, the positives. There's also a lean concept called choosing by advantages. You know how back in the day we talked about pros and cons? Well, what are the pros and what are the cons? And let's look at this other option. What are the pros and what are the cons? And most of the time, because the cons are so big, we wouldn't choose the best option because there's such a long list and we're making decisions based on fear. But choosing by advantages says, let's look at these different solutions and options and only write down the advantages and choose the option based on the advantages. That focuses again on strengths, on advantages. I love this concept. So I really feel like the hedgehog concept, finding your strengths, using your working genius, and choosing by advantages, these are lean concepts and lean ways to lead your life. So if you're a PM or a director or an executive or a superintendent, do you know what your people's strengths are? Do you have them in the right spot? And are they at 100% capacity? Because our current condition is we manage for weaknesses. We don't have people in the right positions. We don't know where people can use their genius. And we think a lack of performance is laziness when it may just be that it's not one of their strengths. And so I challenge you to find out what someone's genius is, to take the tests. There's StrengthsFinder tests, there's MBTI, there's DISC, there's the Enneagram, there's the 6 types of working genius. There's a number of these and some questions that I can give you, and we can aggregate these into player cards so that you can better leverage your people. reach out to me and I'll help you with it. Use your strengths. And if you do this, you will be able to have people working in a happier and more fulfilled and more successful fashion according to their genius, which brings them to 100% capacity, which means that you are more effective, especially when labor and leaders are hard to find these days. So in closing, I'm in this for you. Go find your Hedgehog Concept for your company, for yourself, and for your people, and get everybody doing one thing over and over, or a couple of things that will bring them the biggest return on their investment, their red zone. On we go.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast. Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.